distinguished guests, delegates, members, ladies and gentlemen, it is indeed a great moment of pride and honor for me to welcome you all to this fourth annual edition of ICMA. We are simply overwhelmed by the continuing response and support you have been giving all these 4 years, which only made it possible for us to cross all our targets fourth time in a row. As you can see, these 18 value partners have lent their extraordinary support to our cause, and some of them have been doing so regularly for last 4 years. 380 plus delegates have registered for this event, which proves beyond doubt the importance this platform has built. 380 plus delegates have registered now this year, and Reed Exhibition has booked 25% additional exhibition space this year, with 180 plus exhibitors participating, and out of that, remarkably, 60 plus are visiting India for the first time. And we expect 6,000 odd visitors visiting this exhibition over next 2 days. All this reflects the huge expectations and aspirations we all have out of this event. Let me run through some of the initiatives ICMA has taken in last few months. The first one is we are reviving the index under the name of Codex. CRISIL will be now doing this job hopefully from 1st of January, and we will have 4 national indices for 4 different zones for every quarter. And we have signed the contract for same with CRISIL. So this was a long, pending project we had in mind. So finally we could get things done. And we will discuss in details about this proposal in AGM. Second initiative which we have taken is the insurance company to take up our cause of the industry with the insurance companies. And we have had number of discussions with them on an industry basis, that what risk we can definitely cover and also at a minimal premium. So they will be guiding us on that. So we will be shortly coming back to you with the proposal they will give. And Mr. Jam, who is also going to present tomorrow on the same. Third initiative which we are planning to take is to do the costing project, which is very long overdue. And one of the big fives like KPMG or Ernst & Young or someone else of that stature will be doing this costing project, which will also help our members. The fourth, which we are exploring, is the publication. We would like to come out with our own publication, maybe once in a quarter, and then take it forward, and there will be more informative for all our members. And lastly, we are also going to do a number of other initiatives like GST awareness, different centers. All the 4 zones will be having one seminar by a leading GST expert for our members to get ready on that. So these are some of the initiatives we have taken, and some more will be discussed during our AGM. Thank you. Before I talk on the main theme of the event, let me first share few macro perspectives of the Indian economy. We all know that India is on move. Sorry. Sorry about that. Usual technical glitch. Yeah. So we all know that the India is on the move. These days we are hearing a lot about favorable tailwinds and green shoots which are spurring the India growth story. Just to name a few, good monsoon this year, GST implementation on cards, lower interest rates, favorable demographic dividend, progressive governance, and so on and so forth. But interestingly, in the recent McKinsey survey, they have identified 5 big opportunities. And they feel that these 5 big opportunities will be a game changer, and they have a wide and deep economic impact on the economy. Let's look at these 5 opportunities quickly. The first one is the acceptable living standards for all Indians. Currently, 550 million people are below the acceptable level of standard of living. And as the government's programs move them from poverty to empowerment by providing them higher crop insurance, increasing the productivity of the farm, giving them direct subsidies, all this will leave additional money in their hands, which in turn will boost the economy. Second big opportunity is sustainable urbanization. 69 cities today have more than 1 billion population, and government says that these will be the growth engines for the next couple of years. As the government and as well as public money and private money goes into the infrastructure, I am sure this will definitely be the game changer. They say by 2030, 60% of the Indian population will be living in the urban centers. Third big opportunity is the Make in India. We all know how much our Prime Minister and the government is giving such a huge thrust on these, and with initiatives like ease of doing business, increasing the FDI limits, 5 national corridors being built, and so on and so forth. So, Make in India initiative is drawing lots of MNCs to put their base of manufacturing in India, not only for the domestic growth market, but also for the serving the Asian and African nations nearby. So these initiatives have already brought in some big names like Mars, IKEA, Lenovo, Foxconn, and so on and so forth. The fourth big opportunity is the digital wave. We all know that in India today we have mobile revolution. More than 1 billion mobile users are there, and with 550 million online population, second largest in the world next to China. And these two trends are going to give access to all the Indians to information, healthcare, education, e-commerce, and so on and so forth. In other words, digital wave is going to alter or change the way we operate and live. Fifth big opportunity is unlocking the potential of women. Currently, only 24% of the workforce is manned by women, as against the 40% average of the world. And once these additional women join the workforce, what kind of discretionary income they will bring in their hands, which will take India growth to a different trajectory. In short, India's growth story is intact, robust, and attractive. These growth drivers and favorable tailwinds I talked about would definitely provide us a long runway for us to grow and prosper. And this runway, they say, could last at least 2 decades, if not more. The question is, are we capable of leveraging this opportunity, once in a lifetime opportunity? Yes, we can, provided we de-risk our operations by remaining profitable, viable, and nimble. So, how do we de-risk? The concept of de-risking, which is the main theme of this event, is easier to understand provided we understand what risk management is all about. Risk management is nothing but the process of identifying, analyzing, and responding to risk factors which could impact our achieving the set objectives or goals. It means not only to reduce the likelihood of occurrence of an event, but also mitigating the financial impact in case such an event happens. It should be taken as a proactive process rather than reactive. There's no point of acting after an event happens. So after we identify and analyze risks, the next obvious step is to respond. And how do we respond? Risk response basically involves 3 steps. First is avoidance, eliminating the root cause. Second is the mitigation, reduce the likelihood of the occurrence, and if it does happen, its financial impact. And third is the acceptance, develop the contingency plan to be put in place in case such an unfortunate event happens. Every business or entity faces number of risks. The risks can be categorized or classified in number of ways, but we have chosen to classify under 4 major heads on which we shall be deliberating and discussing over these 2.5 days. And these risks are structural, meaning with the structure of the industry. Second is the business or operational, which means risks concerned with the failure of people or processes or systems. Financial risks, which would be a liquidity or profitability risks. And the last is risks arising out of natural calamities, flood, fire, etc. Although these 4 major categories of risks would be taken up by eminent speakers as well as the panel members, I would like to touch upon for a few seconds the structural risks, which I feel is not easily understood by many of us. This structural risk is nothing but the relating to the structure of the industry, and in simple terms it means competitive landscape. Every industry faces a unique structure or competitive landscape, and that competitive landscape determines the profitability and viability of the industry. Structural risk can be easily understood with the help of a famous and very popular Porter model of 5 forces. I will just touch these 5 forces, and of course this would be taken in with a long details by the panel discussion on that. So the first risk is threat of substitutes. The second is the bargaining power of suppliers. Third is the entry barriers, threat of the competitors. And the fourth is the power of our buyers and clients. And all these 4 interplay and interact to create the intense competitiveness in the industry which we are all facing now. So these are the 5 forces on which the next session after lunch they will be discussing this. Now I have talked about both opportunities at a macro level and risks at a micro level. Micro level meaning at the level of unit and industry. We all hope and pray that we all choose wisely the path and take all decisions very rationally and logically, particularly pertaining to capital expenditure, capital allocation and capacity expansion. And let us not lose sight of this broad risk framework. At the end, I would like to thank all my colleagues on the ICMA's Governing Council who have supported to make this event what it is.